Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't yet know me, my name is Jaden Johnson and I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Secrets. Sales Secrets is a psychological sales and marketing training company where we specialize in helping business owners and sales reps just like you improve their ability to influence, persuade, and close more deals by understanding human psychology and implementing that into your sales process. Now, in this specific video, I'm going to take you guys through a 4-step framework that I have taught in 18 different industries and that I currently use with all my clients and all my students who come and learn how to master objection handling. Now, the reason why it's so important to have a process when it comes to objection handling is because it gives you confidence as a sales rep and it allows you to develop those advanced skill sets that come with objection handling. The biggest problems that I see sales reps experiencing when it comes to objection handling is they just don't have a tried and true process that they can rely on. And because of that, they always find themselves changing up how they handle objections and not knowing what works and what doesn't work. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 steps that you guys can follow in every single objection situation to help you reframe those objections and help your prospect move forward with a buying decision. Now, before we dive in, if you guys love this channel, if you love the videos that I've done so far, it's only been just a few, but I promise more videos and more content will be coming your way. So if you enjoy this video, hit that like button down below and subscribe to this channel so that you can stay tuned for more content on sales psychology and marketing psychology coming your way. With that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and jump over to my iPad. I want to start recording so that you guys can see how I draw out this framework and how I help sales reps begin to have amazing results when it comes to their objection handling. So in terms of objection handling, there's 4 steps in this framework that we need to go over. But the first step, and probably one of the most important steps that most sales reps, business owners, and entrepreneurs are getting wrong is they aren't releasing the pressure. So step number 1 is to release pressure. So anytime that you go into an objection handling scenario, the first thing that we want to do is release the pressure, release the tension, and release our attachment to the sale. The reason why this is so important is because the more that we take a step back, the less pressure that our prospect is going to feel, and it's going to allow us to ask questions to help them move forward and resolve this objection for themselves. Because once again, the person with the objection is not you as the sales rep, it's your prospect. And your process should be designed in a way that helps them overcome their own objections rather than you forcing them to overcome that or telling them that they should overcome it. So the first step is to release that pressure and to let them know that that's not a problem or no worries. So let me give you guys an example. Let's say that you get the famous think about it objection. It's probably one of the most common objections that you're going to get as a sales rep. If they bring up the think about it objection, I always say the same thing and I always go to the same pattern. I always let them know that's not a problem or no worries. So that's what I'll say. I need to think about it. No worries, that's not a problem. That's the first thing that I'm going to say. After that, I like to agree with the intention behind the think about it objection. So once again, I'm not agreeing with the objection, but I'm agreeing with their intention behind the objection. So when it comes to the think about it objection, they just want to make the best decision for themselves. If it comes to the spouse objection, they just want their spouse to support them in that decision. If it comes to a timing objection, they don't know if it's the right time. They want to make the decision at the best time for themselves. And I always agree with those good intentions while I don't agree with the objection. So I'll say, no worries. I think it's important that you make the best decision for yourself. And that's how I release the pressure. Step 2 is to go into what we call a tie down. Now, this is a pretty common term that is used in the sales industry and in the sales world, but what a tie down is when you're tying down the actual solution that you offer. So once again, when it comes to objection handling, they either have one of 2 things happening. Number one is they have a problem with your solution and they're giving you a smoke screen objection, but their real problem has to do with the solution or the offer that you made to them. This is why it's important to tie down and figure out, is this solution what they're actually looking for before you try and handle the objection that they gave you. This is where that term smoke screen comes from, or a false objection. So that is the first part, is we need to tie down this solution so that we can actually deal with the objection that they gave us. By tying down our solution, sometimes we find out that the real objection that they haven't told us yet has to do with our solution, and we need to solve that first. So how to tie down? My favorite way to tie down is just double checking that what we've talked about and what I've offered them is what they're truly looking for. So in the terms of the think about it objection, I like to say, no worries, that's not a problem at all. I think it's important that you make the best decision for yourself. With that being said though, prospect, I'm curious, do you really feel like XYZ solution that we've talked about today will actually help you get to ABC goal? And I'm going to repeat the goal that they have to them. I'm going to make sure that they see the solution actually helping them get to that end goal or end result that they've communicated with me. This is how I tie that down. Normally, just by asking this question, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to agree with me. And if they agree with me and they agree that the solution is in fact what they're looking for, that means I'm going to go to step 3. If they don't agree with me, they're typically going to bring up their real concern at this point, which is exactly what we wanted to do when it comes to handling an objection. If they bring up the real concern, that's when we're going to skip step number 3 and move into step number 4, which is actually overcoming the objection. And I'll teach you guys that just in a moment. So that is step 2 of how to tie down the solution. Step 3 is actually going into and making a decision or asking some clarifying questions to figure out what the actual concern is. For example, if they tell me that they want to think about it, I tie down the solution and they really do feel that they want to think about it and they really do feel that this solution is what they're looking for. What that lets me know is that it's an emotional objection rather than a logistical objection. Now, if you're not familiar with the difference between those two, an emotional objection has to do with emotions. It's either fear, anxiety, nervousness, stress. They're scared to move forward, and that's an emotional objection. While on the other hand, a logistical objection has to do with logic. They either don't have the money, they don't have the funding, they don't have their partner or spouse on board with them, it's not the right time because there's barriers, and it's a logical reason why they can't move forward. So when this happens, I'm going to release pressure, I'm going to tie down my solution, and then I'm going to clarify on what the real objection actually is. And this is how I would simply do that in terms of a think about it objection. I would say, so it sounds like, Mr. Prospect, that this is the solution that you're actually looking for. So when it comes to thinking about it, I'm assuming you're just wanting to make sure that this is the right move and really feel good about moving forward over the next couple of days. And they're going to typically agree with that, right? And I'll even suggest to them, maybe you're just feeling potentially a little stressed or anxious or nervous about an investment decision like this, which I totally understand. And I'll suggest that to them. More often than not, they'll agree with that. They're like, yeah, I just want to make sure that I feel totally good about this, that all those nerves are gone. I want to sleep on it, and I want to make sure that it feels good. That is step number 3, where I have now clarified on what the actual concern is, and now they've confirmed that with me. Step number 4 is when you actually help them resolve the concern. Now, once again, it can be one of 2 objections. You can have a logistical objection, or you can have an emotional objection, okay? If it's a logistical objection, what that means is there's a barrier that we have to help them overcome themselves, because once again, we can't overcome it for them. We're not the ones making the decision. We have to ask questions that help them overcome that barrier themselves. The other part is the emotional, right? So there's a feeling that they're experiencing that's holding them back. In this example of the think about it objection, more often than not, it's going to be a feeling if there's nothing specific for them to actually think through or think about when it comes to that objection. So here's how I would resolve the think about it objection if it's a feeling of nervousness. So I clarify with the client in step 3 or the prospect in step 3 that what they're experiencing is just nervousness, anxiety, and they're just a little nervous about moving forward. And they say, yes, I'm feeling that way. How I'd move from there is I would say, thank goodness that you feel that way. In fact, if you didn't feel a little bit nervous about an investment, I'd be a little concerned because that is completely normal to feel that way. Why would I say that to my prospect? It allows them to feel okay. Once again, it releases that pressure and lets them know, hey, it's normal to feel a little bit anxious or a little bit nervous. And I'm glad you feel that way because anybody else in your position would feel that way as well. Then I'm going to lead it into a reframe. And this is how I would ask them for permission to do that. So anytime that we want to help our clients or our prospects change the way that they're thinking, which is what a big part of sales is, we want to ask permission to do that. So I would ask them, now, prospect, would you be opposed if I gave you a little bit different perspective on this, just from my experience being in my position and working with hundreds of individuals making a similar decision as you? They're never going to say, hey, I'm totally opposed to that. You can't share a different perspective with me. They're never going to do that. They're always going to be like, yeah, sure. What's your perspective? Then you can reframe the feelings of nervousness, anxiety, and being a little bit unsure about moving forward. My favorite way to do that is always letting them know, hey, listen, I totally understand that those feelings are normal, but I just want to make sure once again that this is the best decision for you moving forward. From what I've seen in my experience, typically individuals will have that feeling of nervousness and anxiety, but in their gut, they know that it's the right decision. Now, once again, I want you to make the best decision for you, prospect. So I'm curious, what's your gut telling you? Is your gut telling you that this isn't the right solution for you and that you shouldn't move forward? Or is your gut telling you this is what you've been looking for? Then they share with me how they actually feel. More often than not, at this point in the process, they're going to say, this feels right. This is what I want to move forward with. And then I can let them know, well, the next couple of days, I'll be honest with you, waiting is not going to solve that feeling that you're having. If it's in your gut right now that this is the best decision for you, and you've done the due diligence to look at the data and it makes sense, honestly, extending this out over the next couple of days will only make you feel worse. Once again, you can completely do what you want to do, and I want you to make the best decision. I just want to let you know, more often than not, people in your situation who feel that way, the best way to move forward is to just rip it off like a Band-Aid, make that jump, take the leap of faith, and get started. So I'm curious, would you be completely opposed to the idea of us just getting started and not wasting any other time for you to just keep feeling the way that you're feeling right now? And that's how I would frame up this objection and help them overcome it. So you guys, that is the 4-step framework, once again, to handling objections. Just as a recap, step number 1 is you want to make sure that you release the pressure. Step number 2 is you want to tie down the solution. Step number 3 is you want to clarify on what the actual objection is. And then step number 4 is you help them resolve that concern. Now, if it's a logistical concern, you're going to use logic to help them overcome that. Maybe it's impossible for them to move forward and you have to set up those next steps with them. More often than not, though, it's going to be an emotional objection, and we can use frameworks, reframes, and ask for permission to give perspective on this decision to help them move forward. And that is the 4-step process to handling objections. Once again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for your time and your consideration. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel because I have more content coming your way.